And when I did pause it, it was recording. I thought I was recording it. So we want to talk about poverty. We're talking about poverty, and we're talking about homelessness. People that are homeless in the streets of Winnipeg. Well, here's my crack at the bat. Homelessness and poverty are a government and city problem. The city of Winnipeg and the government of Manitoba can eradicate both of them by throwing money at it. My firm belief about these two serious situations, because I live in Winnipeg, I have kids that live in Winnipeg, 3 wonderful kids. And I too myself, when I was a younger man, was homeless. It's not a nice feeling not having food in your stomach or a roof over your head. The government and the city can take care of this, like the city of Calgary did with that big, huge drop-in center where you can go and sleep. I stayed there. I was a resident there for 2 or 3 days when I was on my way across Canada to Vancouver to meet my birth family in 2001 and 2003. But they won't. The palace of government is about sanctioning pot for when pot becomes legal. And is also about eradicating healthcare services right across the board, right across Manitoba. That's not the kind of leader we need. You want to eradicate poverty, you want to eradicate homelessness. Why don't we hire and elect our first Indigenous Premier of Manitoba? I'm sending this message out to I Don't Know More. I'm sending this message out to the Bear Clan. I'm sending this message out to all the Native leaders out there that will watch this video. We need an Indigenous leader. Our first leader was the founding father of Manitoba, Louis Riel, and he was hung for treason. You want reconciliation? You want reconciliation across the board? Then why don't we show Canada how grown up we are by hiring an Indigenous leader to lead us into the next century? Whether it's female, whether it's male, this needs to be done. This is my video. I'm very concerned about the well-being of my people, the murdered and missing Indigenous women. No one person or one woman decides to jump into the Red River. People know stuff. People know stuff that has happened to these young women. And they're keeping their mouths shut because of the fact they're getting paid. You want to catch these criminals, you got to hire a criminal to catch one. I have 2 daughters. I have 1 son. They don't see very much of their dad. I'm very much estranged from all 3 of them, but I love them very much. The Native elders across Canada believe in their hearts that this goes through the governments, through the RCMP, through the local police, lawyers, doctors, etc., all the way up to the Canadian government. And it spawned from the residential school system. It spawned from the residential school system by boys who were raped and molested in residential school and never got healed. They got hired by the governments. They got hired through the priests and the churches to continue the sex ring and to continue the abuse of snatching our women up. And elders right across Canada believe this. This is no longer considered an Indigenous problem. We've never been a problem. Our problem is our women are going missing. There's not enough reconciliation going on in Canada. And yet all the churches and all the priests and all the bishops right across Canada, especially here in Winnipeg, are talking about reconciliation. Reconciliation is a made-up word. This needs to be taken with firm action, and it starts with you. Up north, Manitoba, you've always voted NDP. The last election, you guys voted blue. You guys voted blue. You guys voted conservative. To a government that does not care about Indigenous rights. You want to talk about reconciliation with our people. You want to be native, you want to be strong. But there was a encampment in front of the legislative buildings in March, after the Tina Fontaine verdict came through, and hardly anyone showed up. Yet you talk to us about reconciliation, you talk to us about leadership, about I don't know more of this and I don't know more of that. Where does it end? Where does it begin? Change begins with you. Know your rights as a Canadian citizen, not just as an Anishinaabe, as a Canadian citizen. Who to vote for, who not to vote for. Because you guys voted in the Conservative government. And I lived here in the 90s in Winnipeg, and that Conservative government didn't care about Indigenous rights. And a lot has changed since the early 1990s, but I lived through it. Now we're living through it again with Mr. Pallister. He doesn't care about Indigenous rights. He cares about making money and putting money in his pocket. So we want affirmative change in Manitoba. Let's work together. Let's vote in our first Indigenous leader into the Premier's office of Manitoba. Because we can do it. I stand firm by that. My whole family's been political my whole life. I know how to vote. I know who to vote for. And I know when my rights are being infringed on. That's my rant. I hope people listen to it. Because it's important. Because every day or every other second day or every other week, one of our women go missing, or two of them go missing. And that has to stop. It's not about melodramatics. The RCMP are involved. The Crown attorneys are involved. The police are involved. The doctors are involved. The politicians are involved. Anybody who can stand losing money is going to be hurt. When is reconciliation going to start? When can we finally eradicate racism right from Canada? People say to me on Facebook all the time, from China, from Switzerland, from Australia, from Asia, you guys, Winnipeg has a human rights museum, but there's racism. I said the Human Rights Museum isn't about human beings. The Human Rights Museum stands for profit, to make money, because they're greedy. They don't care about Indigenous rights. They built the Human Rights Museum on Anishinaabe land. And Winnipeg, to that cop out there from the Winnipeg Whiteout, you are on Treaty 1 territory. My name is Philip Holmes. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba. That is my rant. And I hope that God and the Creator, that somebody out there listens, that somebody out there responds. Because we have to make a difference. Or what are we leaving behind for our children when we die? More pain, more heartache, more racism. What are we leaving behind for our children? What are we leaving behind for our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren?